30 engineers failed, but the poor delivery girl solved everything and made the millionaire CEO fall in love. Before we start the story, let us know in the comments, what city are you watching from? Enjoy the story. Chaos had taken over the headquarters of Leon Corp. Big screens were flashing red messages. Critical security failure, emergency restart in progress. Engineers were running around. Managers were shouting orders that no one could hear. And in the middle of it all, standing like a rock in the storm, was Arthur Liang, CEO of the largest tech company in the country. His eyes were cold, intense, the kind of man who doesn't accept failure. 30 seconds, he said, checking his wristwatch. If no one fixes this, you're all fired. We're trying, sir, one desperate engineer replied. But the system won't take any more commands. Arthur didn't blink. He just crossed his arms and waited for disaster. That's when the emergency doors opened. Everyone turned. Delivery. Unsweetened lemon tea and whole wheat bread with tofu, shouted a woman's voice. She came rushing in, still wearing her helmet with a delivery backpack on. Her t-shirt was soaked with sweat and she was breathing heavily. It was Luna Oliveira, an app delivery worker, and clearly in the wrong place. Miss, this is a restricted area, someone shouted. Wait, isn't this the 32nd floor? Order number 49, it's in the system. Get out of here now. Relax, I'm just delivering. My customer is… Arthur Liang? Everyone froze. Arthur turned to face her. You know who I am? Of course, your name's right here in the app. She showed her phone. Order placed at 11:42. You're 1 minute late, he said flatly. There was traffic. She took a deep breath. Never mind, here's your food. Luna held out the bag, not understanding why everyone was staring at her like she was from another planet. Then she noticed the giant screen behind him. That system? Are you trying to restart it while the core cache is still active? One of the engineers grumbled, and now the delivery girl wants to teach us. No, it's just… Luna pointed at the code. If you keep that line running, it'll go into defense mode and freeze everything. Arthur stepped forward. You understand this? A little. I was in computer science college, dropped out in my 4th semester. Can I try? Arthur looked around. All the engineers lowered their eyes. Go ahead, he said. Luna walked up to the panel, touched the screen gently, and opened a hidden line of code. She typed a few commands, unplugged a cable, and restarted the system using a backup power source. 3 seconds later, system stable. Access restored. The alarm stopped. The lights returned to normal. Silence. It worked? She asked, confused by everyone's stares. Arthur looked at the screen, then at her. What's your name? Luna. Luna Oliveira. Can I go now? Wait, she turned around. Don't want a job? No, thanks. I have more deliveries to make, and she ran off like she hadn't just done something amazing. On her motorcycle, crossing the wet streets with her backpack, Luna smiled with relief. She had no idea she'd been caught by more than 30 cameras, and that her face was already being shared in company chats, tech forums, and on social media. 30 minutes later, in a dark room at the company, Arthur was watching the security footage on replay. He zoomed in on her face more each time. Luna Oliveira, he whispered. On the other side of town, Luna walked through her front door with a plastic bag holding rice and eggs. Mom, I'm home. The thin, pale woman in the wheelchair gave a tired smile. How was your day, sweetie? Same as always. Had to run again, but everything turned out fine. And the rain? Still hasn't started. I'm gonna make soup, okay? But outside, as Luna changed out of her uniform and washed her hands, 2 men were watching her modest home from across the street. That's her? Asked the man in the cap. Yes. Arthur said to find the delivery girl from the incident. That's the one. What does he want with her? No one knows, but if Mr. Leon wants it, we follow orders. The next day, Luna stood in front of a newsstand, eyes wide. On the cover of the country's most famous business magazine, the headline read, Delivery Girl fixes in seconds what 30 engineers couldn't. Who is Luna Oliveira? She ran to the bus stop, heart racing. No, this is going to cause me trouble. But it was already too late. As she turned the corner, a black limousine pulled up in front of her. The window rolled down slowly. It was him. Luna, said Arthur with a slight smile, I've been looking for you. Her eyes widened. What? I need your help, again. Luna took a step back, nearly tripping on the cracked sidewalk. My help? She repeated, confused. Look, I was just doing my job yesterday. It was luck. Arthur Leon kept that intense gaze, like he could read every thought in her head. The black limousine gleamed under the morning sun, drawing the attention of everyone on the street. Luck? He gave a half smile. No one solves a dynamic encryption issue in a second by luck. I need to get to work, Luna said, adjusting the backpack on her shoulders. How much do you make a day? Arthur asked abruptly. Luna frowned. That's pretty personal. I'll pay you double for a special delivery. He held out a black card with gold letters. Luna hesitated, but took it. That's the address. 7 o'clock tonight? Don't be late. The tinted window rolled up and the limousine quietly pulled away, leaving Luna frozen on the sidewalk, holding the card like it was a bomb about to go off. In the Leon Corp office, Arthur kept his eyes on the screen showing Luna Oliveira's data. Each click revealed more about the mysterious young woman. Dropped out of computer science in her 3rd year. Excellent grades, full scholarship, lived on campus, left after her father passed away. Zhao Wu, his personal assistant for over a decade, stood silently by the door. Why would someone with that kind of potential be delivering food? Arthur muttered, mostly to himself. Maybe she's hiding something, Zhao suggested. Arthur turned in his chair, looking out over the city through the glass wall. Keep digging. I want to know everything about her. In the corner of the screen, a notification popped up. A news article from 3 years ago. Famous chef accused of poisoning at luxury restaurant. The photo showed a middle-aged man with the same shy smile as Luna. Interesting, Arthur murmured. A thief's daughter should disappear. The shout echoed through the small neighborhood market where Luna was buying medicine for her mother. She froze, fingers tightening around the box of painkillers. Rita Menezes, a former college classmate, stood in the aisle, with her signature blonde hair and arrogant attitude. Thought you vanished after your dad got arrested, Rita continued, loud enough for everyone to hear. How does it feel to be the daughter of someone who nearly killed 15 people? Luna took a deep breath and mentally counted to 3. My father was innocent, she replied without turning around. Rita let out a cruel laugh. Of course, that's why he killed himself in prison, right? Innocent people always hang themselves. Luna felt her blood boil. She turned quickly to face Rita, but her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from her mother. Don't forget the medicine, sweetheart. Love you. It calmed her down. Luna paid for the medicine and left silently, ignoring the curious looks from other shoppers. Coward, just like your father, Rita shouted after her. On her way home, Luna fought back tears. It had been 3 years since her father, Carlos Oliveira, a talented chef, was accused of poisoning customers at a high-end restaurant. 3 years since he was found dead in his cell, just 2 weeks after being arrested. Her life had fallen apart that day. College, dreams, everything was left behind when she had to take care of her mother, who developed a degenerative illness from the trauma. When she got home, she found her younger brother, Pedro, only 12 years old, trying to fix the kitchen faucet. Hey, Pe, what are you doing? It's leaking again, he replied, not looking up from the tool in his hand. We're wasting a lot of water like this, Luna smiled, heart aching. Pedro had the same determination as their father. Where's Mom? Sleeping. She was really tired today. Luna checked on her mother, Helena, who was asleep in the small bed against peeling walls. Beside her, a photo of Carlos smiling next to a fancy dish, the last award he ever received. Her phone rang again. It was Marcos, her manager at the delivery app. Luna, you're out. I've had enough complaints. First, you sneak into a high-security company, then you show up in the news? This is bad for business. Marcos, please. I need this job. It's over, Luna. Bring back the uniform tomorrow. The line went dead. Luna sat on the kitchen floor, back against the cold wall. Another job gone. The money barely covered her mother's medicine, and now, she remembered the black card in her pocket, the address for that special delivery. Maybe it was her only option now. At 7:02 p.m., Luna stopped her old bicycle in front of one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. She wore the only presentable clothes she had, a pair of less faded jeans and a blouse borrowed from a neighbor. The valet gave her a disapproving look. Service entrance is around back, he said, pointing. I'm looking for Arthur Liang, she said, lifting her chin. He invited me. The man laughed. Right? And I'm the president of France. At that moment, a silver Aston Martin pulled up in front of the restaurant. Arthur stepped out, adjusting his perfectly tailored suit. "Mr. Liang," the valet rushed over, ignoring Luna. "Your table is ready." Arthur spotted Luna and walked toward her. "You're late," he said, checking his platinum watch. 2 minutes. I came by bike." Arthur glanced at the rusty bicycle, then at Luna's simple outfit. "Let's go inside." As they walked into the 5-star restaurant, Luna could feel all the eyes on her. The tables were filled with politicians, celebrities, and business people. Everyone was dressed in expensive clothes and glittering jewelry. Arthur led her to a reserved table on the mezzanine, overlooking the lit-up city. "Why am I here?" Luna asked once they were alone. "I want to offer you a job. Security technology." Luna gave a dry laugh. "I didn't finish college. I don't care about degrees. I care about results." A waiter approached with champagne. Arthur dismissed him with a wave. "Why are you really doing this?" Luna pressed. "You don't even know me." Arthur studied her for a moment. His eyes were cold and calculating, but there was something else there. Curiosity, maybe. "You did in 1 second what 30 experts couldn't do in an hour." That caught my attention. "You looked into my past, didn't you?" Luna said suddenly. "You must know about my father." Something flickered in Arthur's eyes. "I know he was a talented chef, and supposedly a criminal," Luna added bitterly. "That's what everyone says." Arthur leaned forward. "And what do you say?" Luna felt a lump in her throat. That he was innocent, that he would never poison anyone, that he loved cooking more than anything. The waiter returned with their meals. A culinary masterpiece for Arthur and another equally elaborate dish for Luna. She stared at the food, her stomach turning with memories. "My dad cooked better," she muttered. Arthur raised his eyebrows, surprised. "You cook too?" "I learned from him," Luna replied, tasting the dish carefully. "But I never had the chance to keep learning." Arthur watched her with an intensity that made her uneasy. For the first time, Luna noticed how attractive he was, in a mysterious and intimidating way. "I have a proposal for you," he said at last. "A test, actually." "What kind of test?" "Tomorrow at company headquarters, 9 o'clock. Luna hesitated. "And if I say no?" Arthur smiled, unreadable. "Then I'll have wasted my time, and you'll miss an opportunity." The rest of the dinner passed in an uncomfortable silence. Luna couldn't figure out what this man wanted from her. As they left the restaurant, a slim and elegant woman approached them. "Arthur, what a surprise to see you here." Her eyes scanned Luna from head to toe, and a cruel smile appeared on her lips. "And who's this? Your new assistant?" "Sophia Menezes," Arthur said coldly. "Didn't expect to see you." Luna froze at the last name, Menezes. "Like Rita." "You two know each other?" Arthur asked, noticing the tension. "Not exactly," Luna replied, looking at Sophia. "But I know your daughter, Rita." Sophia's eyes lit up with recognition. "Wait, you're Carlos Oliveira's daughter? The chef who tried to poison my husband?" Luna felt the ground disappear beneath her. "My father was innocent," she said automatically. Sophia laughed, sharp and mean. "Your father was a failure who couldn't handle competition. He tried to kill Victor out of jealousy." Arthur watched the scene, his expression unreadable. "Victor Menezes, the restaurant chain owner?" "My husband," Sophia confirmed. "He almost died because of her father." Luna's blood boiled. "It was a setup. My father would never do that." "The evidence said otherwise, dear," Sophia replied with venom. "Just like the jury that convicted him." Luna stepped forward, but Arthur gently held her arm. "I believe we're done here, Sophia," he said with authority. "Have a good night." Sophia gave a fake smile. "Be careful who you hire, Arthur. Bad blood always shows itself." As she walked away, Luna was shaking with anger. "Now you see why I can't take your job," she said, pulling her arm back. "This whole city thinks I'm the daughter of a criminal." Arthur looked at her for a long moment. "And that stops you from proving them wrong?" "I've tried. No one believes me." "I didn't say you had to convince them," Arthur said. "I said you had to prove it." Luna felt a spark of determination grow inside her. "How?" "Come tomorrow. Find out." Arthur got into his car, leaving Luna on the sidewalk, torn between doubt and curiosity. When she got home, she found an eviction notice on the table. 3 months behind on rent. Her brother was asleep on the couch, hugging one of their father's old cookbooks. Let's play a little game with those who only read the comments. Type pizza in the comments. Only the ones who made it this far will understand. Now, let's get back to the story. Luna looked at the photo of Carlos on the wall, his kind eyes always smiling. What would he say now? Her phone buzzed. A message from Arthur. The limousine will be there at 8:30. Don't be late. Luna glanced at the court summons, then at her brother sleeping, and finally at her father's photo. I have to try, Dad, she whispered to the picture. For all of us. Across town, Arthur was staring at his computer screen. Documents on the Carlos Oliveira case filled the monitor. I found something odd, sir, Zhao said, stepping into the office. About the poisoning case, the toxicology reports. There are inconsistencies. Arthur gave a slight smile. Keep digging, and get everything ready for tomorrow. Are you sure, sir? The board won't approve. The board doesn't need to know, not yet. On the screen, Luna's face now appeared next to her father's. The same determination in her eyes, the same quiet smile. Arthur closed the laptop. Tomorrow should be interesting. At 8:27, Luna stood on the sidewalk in front of her house, wearing the same borrowed blouse and a pair of less faded jeans. Her brother Pedro watched from the window, amazed, as a black limousine turned the corner. That's the first time I've ever seen a real limo, the boy said, wide-eyed. Luna forced a smile, trying to hide her nerves. Don't wait for me for lunch. Take care of Mom, okay? Are you going to work for the rich man? I don't know yet, Pei. I'm just going to see what he wants. The limousine stopped, and the driver stepped out to open the door. Luna expected to see Arthur inside, but the vehicle was empty. During the ride, she watched her neighborhood disappear behind her, the low buildings, cracked sidewalks, and small shops. Slowly, the view changed to mirrored skyscrapers and flawless avenues. At Leon Corp, a secretary in a perfect suit greeted her in the lobby. Miss Oliveira, please follow me. Luna was led to the top floor, where a glass-walled conference room was filled with men and women in expensive suits. Everyone went quiet when she walked in. Arthur sat at the head of the table, as calm as ever. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Luna Oliveira. The executives gave her a once-over. Someone cleared their throat, unimpressed. Arthur, can we speak privately? Asked a gray-haired man. Of course, Robert. Luna, please wait in my office. In the CEO's office, Luna was left alone, surrounded by awards, degrees, and a panoramic view of the city. She felt small, out of place. On the wall, a photo of Arthur with important politicians. On his desk, interestingly, no personal photos, just work. The door suddenly opened, and Arthur walked in, followed by Robert and two other executives. This is outrageous, Robert snapped. Hiring a criminal's daughter for security, that's a risk to the company. Luna's face flushed. My father was innocent. Your opinion doesn't matter, girl, Robert cut in. The facts speak for themselves. Arthur stayed calm. The facts show that Luna solved a problem none of you could. She got lucky. Then let's test her, Arthur said, turning to Luna. Tonight, at the company's charity dinner. Luna frowned. I thought the test would be here, Arthur smiled. Change of plans. Tonight, we're hosting top investors and international partners. It's a formal dinner. And what does that have to do with me? The chef in charge of the event is Elise Dubois, 3 Michelin stars. You once said your father cooked better. Prove it. Silence filled the room. The executives stared in disbelief. You're suggesting this delivery girl compete with Elise Dubois? Robert asked, stunned. Exactly, Arthur replied. If Luna prepares a better dish, she gets a place at the company, and $50,000. And if I lose? Luna asked. You go back to deliveries. No harm to your name, or what's left of it. Robert laughed mockingly. She probably can't even fry an egg. Luna narrowed her eyes, feeling that spark of determination grow. I accept. The Leon Corp event hall sparkled with golden lights. Elegantly set tables, champagne flowing, and the high society dressed to impress. Luna watched everything from the kitchen entrance, still in her simple clothes, now covered by a white apron. In the main kitchen, Elise Dubois, a middle-aged French woman with flawless posture, commanded a team of chefs with military precision. When she saw Luna, she wrinkled her nose. Qui est cette fille? She asked in French, irritated. An assistant whispered in her ear. Elise turned to Luna, looking her up and down. So you're the petite challenger? She said with a heavy accent. Here we cook with skill, not with luck. Luna didn't answer. She looked over the ingredients, mentally planning what she would make. Arthur appeared in the kitchen doorway, looking impressive in his tuxedo. Is everything ready for the challenge? Oui, Elise replied, but I still think this is ridiculous. The rules are simple, Arthur explained. Each of you will prepare a main course. The guests will taste them without knowing who made what. The winner will be chosen by vote. That's not fair, Luna protested. She has a whole team. You may choose one assistant, Arthur offered. Luna looked around. All the assistants belonged to Elise's team. Then she noticed a young man washing dishes in the corner. Him, she said, pointing. The young man looked surprised. Me? I'm just the cleaning guy. What's your name? Miguel. You're my assistant now, Miguel. Elise laughed mockingly. Good choice, a dishwasher to help a delivery girl. The challenge began. While Elise worked with precise movements, guiding her team in French, Luna looked unsure at first. Miguel watched, nervous. What should I do? He asked. Luna took a deep breath, remembering her father's words. Cooking isn't about following recipes, it's about telling a story. I need olive oil, thyme, rosemary, and that filet, she said, pointing. Let's tell a story. As Luna worked, her confidence grew. Her movements became more fluid, more precise. Miguel watched with growing admiration, following her instructions carefully. Across the kitchen, Elise noticed the change and frowned. Guests began gathering around the tables, eager to see what would happen. Arthur watched Luna through the kitchen door, fascinated by the focus on her face. Robert approached him. This is a mistake, Arthur. That girl is going to embarrass the company. We'll see. When time was up, 2 dishes were presented to the judges. Elise's sophisticated French creation and Luna's dish, simple in appearance, but rich in aroma. Arthur was the first to taste. He closed his eyes as he tried Luna's food. This reminds me of something familiar. He tasted Elise's dish and nodded respectfully. The other guests followed. Whispered comments spread. Surprised looks were exchanged. Sofia Menezes, one of the guests, recognized Luna. That's the daughter of that criminal chef, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. A murmur spread through the room. Accusing eyes turned toward Luna. I wouldn't taste anything she made, Sofia added. How do we know she won't turn out like her father? Luna felt the ground give way beneath her. All her effort, falling apart because of the past. Arthur stepped toward Sofia with a cold smile. Mrs. Menezes, if you refuse to taste the dish, you're disqualified as a judge. He turned to the other guests. And if any of you agree with her, I'll pull my sponsorship from each of your projects. Complete silence. Arthur smiled. Now, shall we continue tasting? The room remained tense as the judges made their decision. Luna stood still, her hands still trembling slightly. Miguel gave her an encouraging smile. The dish was amazing, he whispered. I've never seen anyone cook like that. Arthur stepped onto the small stage in the center of the room, holding a golden envelope. His face gave away nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, the result of our cooking challenge was surprising. Elise Dubois kept a confident smile, while Luna took a deep breath, bracing for defeat. By a margin of 3 votes, Arthur continued, the winner is Luna Oliveira. The room burst into murmurs. Elise's jaw dropped in disbelief. Luna blinked several times, unable to process what she'd just heard. Impossible. Sofia stood abruptly. There must be some mistake. The votes were counted twice, Mrs. Menezes, Arthur said coolly. The decision is final. Camera flashes started going off. Still in shock, Luna was guided to the stage by Arthur. As promised, $50,000 and a position at Leon Corp, he announced, handing her a check. When her fingers touched the paper, Luna felt a wave of emotion rise in her throat. That money would cover the overdue rent, her mother's medicine, Pedro's schooling. Thank you, she managed to say, voice trembling. Arthur smiled, and for the first time it seemed genuine. You earned it. The next morning, Luna's name was all over the news sites. Daughter of convicted chef wins challenge against 3-star chef. Delivery prodigy, from bike to elite cook. Arthur Lang hires criminal's daughter, strategy or madness. Luna sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through headlines on her phone. Her mother, Helena, held the check with trembling hands. 50,000, sweetheart, she murmured, stunned. That's a lot of money. Pedro jumped with excitement. We're rich now. We can buy a new house. Luna smiled, exhausted. It's not that much pay, but it'll help us get by for a while. Her phone vibrated. A message from Arthur. Office. 10 a.m., we need to talk. Before Luna could reply, the doorbell rang. When she opened the door, a man in a suit and tie stood there. Luna Oliveira? Yes? I'm a reporter from the National Daily, he said, holding a microphone toward her. Would you like to comment on the accusations that you followed in your father's criminal footsteps to win the contest? Luna froze. What? Behind the reporter, a van from another news outlet pulled up. More reporters jumped out, cameras ready. Is it true your father taught you poisoning techniques before he died? How does it feel to work for the company your father planned to sabotage? The questions came like rapid fire. Luna stepped back and slammed the door shut. Her heart pounded as she realized someone was trying to ruin her, just like they did to her father. At Leon Corp's office, Arthur watched the sensationalist coverage on TV. His face was tense, his eyes fixed on the footage of Luna surrounded by reporters. This is nonsense, he muttered. Who planted this story? Zhao walked in, holding a tablet. Sir, the board is calling for an emergency meeting. They want you to fire Luna immediately. Arthur kept his eyes on the screen. And Victor Menezes? What did he say? He gave an exclusive interview bringing up the old case. He says you're putting everyone's safety at risk by hiring someone with criminal DNA. Arthur turned off the TV with a sharp movement. Set up the meeting and find out everything you can about her father's case. When Luna finally arrived at the company, she was met with suspicious looks. Employees whispered, and security kept a close eye on her. At reception, a different secretary greeted her with a cold tone. Mr. Liang is in a meeting. Please wait. Luna sat on the reception couch, feeling small. A nearby monitor played an interview with Victor Menezes. I fear for everyone's safety at Leon Corp, said the silver-haired man with a calculating stare. Carlos Oliveira was unstable, dangerous. He nearly poisoned 15 people, including me. Who's to say his daughter didn't inherit that tendency? Luna felt a chill run through her. Victor Menezes, the man who destroyed her father, was now coming after her. Suddenly, the meeting room doors swung open. Executives walked out quickly, their faces tense. Robert, the same man who had questioned her before, gave her a look full of anger. Happy now? The company lost 3 contracts because of you. Arthur was the last to leave the room, his face unreadable. Luna? My office. The elevator ride was painfully silent. Once inside Arthur's private office, he closed the door and let out a heavy sigh. We need to talk about your father. Luna tensed up. If you believe those lies— I don't, Arthur interrupted. But I need to know the truth. All of it. Luna hesitated, eyes brimming with tears. My father was the head chef at Le Jardin, the most prestigious restaurant in town. Victor Menezes owned it. Arthur sat down and gestured for her to do the same. Go on. Dad created a menu that received incredible reviews, awards, international praise, but he wanted to open his own place. When he told Victor about it, Luna took a deep breath, struggling not to cry. The next week, 15 customers got sick. Traces of poison were found in the desserts. My father was arrested that same day. Did he deny it? Until the very end. He said someone framed him, but all the evidence pointed to him. 2 weeks later they found— her voice broke. Found him in his cell. He had hanged himself. Arthur opened a folder on the desk. We found something interesting. The autopsies of the customers have inconsistencies. The poison they found wouldn't have caused the symptoms that were reported. Luna's eyes widened. What? Someone tampered with the evidence. Before the conversation could continue, the office door burst open. Sophia Menezes walked in, followed by security and a news crew. Arthur Leon! She shouted dramatically. How dare you protect a criminal like her? Arthur stood up, furious. Who let you in? My husband holds major shares in 3 of your suppliers, Sophia said with a sharp smile. They want answers. The cameras turned to Luna, who stood frozen in place. That woman is the daughter of a murderer, Sophia went on, pointing dramatically. And now she's using the same methods her father did. That's enough, Arthur ordered, signaling the security guards. Get everyone out, now. As she was being escorted out, Sophia shouted, You'll regret standing up for that girl, Arthur. The board is already voting you out. Once they were finally alone, Luna was trembling. I should go, she murmured. I'm ruining your reputation. Arthur stood silent for a moment, staring out the window at the city below. Do you know why I was drawn to you, Luna? She shook her head. Because we're alike, he continued. We both know what injustice feels like. Arthur turned to face her, determination in his eyes. We're going to clear your father's name, and find out who really poisoned those people. Luna stared at him, surprised by the intensity in his eyes. Why? Why do you care? Arthur stepped closer, just inches away from her. Because I know the truth when I see it. Rain poured heavily as Arthur's limousine pulled up in front of Luna's small house. The narrow street barely fit the luxury vehicle, drawing curious looks from neighbors' windows. Are you sure about this? Luna asked hesitantly. You can drop me off here. You don't have to come in. Arthur looked at the modest houses, peeling paint and tangled wires overhead. Are you ashamed of where you live? No, Luna answered firmly. I'm proud of my home. I just think you might not feel comfortable. Arthur gave a small smile. You think I was born with a silver spoon, don't you? Before Luna could reply, the driver opened the door, and Arthur stepped out into the rain like it was nothing. She followed him, hurrying to the front door. When she opened it, she found Pedro watching TV on their worn-out couch. Luna, the boy shouted, then froze when he saw Arthur. His eyes widened. It's the rich guy from TV, Pedro, Luna scolded, but Arthur was already laughing. You must be Luna's brother. I'm Arthur. Do you really have a helicopter? Pedro asked bluntly. Arthur nodded. I actually have two. Wow, the boy's eyes lit up. Can you take me for a ride one day? Pedro. Luna stepped in, embarrassed. Go see if Mom needs anything. Go on. The boy left reluctantly, still glancing at Arthur with admiration. Luna sighed. Sorry about that. He reminds me of myself at 12, Arthur said, looking at the photos on the wall. He stopped at one of Carlos Oliveira smiling next to a fancy dish. Your father? Luna nodded, a shadow of sadness on her face. The day he won Chef of the Year, 6 months before, everything happened. A coughing sound came from the room next door. Luna tensed. My mom, she's not having a good day. Arthur followed her to a small bedroom where Helena Oliveira lay in bed. The woman, pale and visibly weak, opened her eyes wide at the sight of the visitor. Mom, this is Arthur Liang, my... Luna hesitated, unsure what to call him. Friend, Arthur said, offering his hand. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Oliveira. Helena shook his hand weakly, still surprised. What brings a man like you to our home? Arthur sat in the chair beside the bed. Your daughter. She's extraordinary. Helena smiled proudly. She's always been, just like her father. Speaking of which, we're looking into his case. Arthur explained. I believe your husband was the victim of a setup. Helena's eyes filled with tears. No one ever believed us. Carlos would never do such a thing. Never. Luna had stepped out to get some water and returned to find her mom and Arthur chatting like old friends. Helena looked more lively than she had in months, sharing stories about Carlos. He always said food is a universal language, Helena was saying. If you really want to know someone, eat what they cook. Arthur listened with genuine interest, asking questions now and then. The rain outside grew stronger, turning into a loud storm. Looks like you'll be stuck here for a while, Luna said, glancing at the window. Don't worry about me, Arthur replied. I've seen worse storms. While Helena rested, Luna led Arthur into the kitchen. You must be hungry, she said, opening the modest fridge. We don't have much, but I can make something. Let me help, Arthur offered, taking off his expensive jacket and rolling up his sleeves. Luna stared at him in disbelief. You know how to cook? Let's just say I can manage. To her surprise, Arthur moved around the small kitchen with ease. He chopped vegetables with precision, measured spices carefully. Where did you learn to cook like that? Luna asked, genuinely curious. A mysterious smile appeared on his face. I wasn't always a CEO. Before I built Leon Corp, I worked as a kitchen assistant in Taiwan for 3 years. Luna stopped what she was doing, surprised. You never told me that. You never asked. Side by side, they prepared a simple but tasty meal. The aroma filled the house, drawing Pedro into the kitchen. I'm starving, the boy said excitedly. As they ate, Arthur seemed more relaxed than Luna had ever seen him. Without the formal suit and rigid posture, he smiled and chatted easily with Pedro about video games and cars. Why did you choose Luna to work with you? Pedro asked suddenly. Arthur looked at Luna for a moment before answering. Because she sees solutions where others only see problems. Luna felt her cheeks grow warm. After dinner, Pedro talked Arthur into playing a game of makeshift chess, with missing pieces replaced by bottle caps. To Luna's surprise, Arthur deliberately lost, pretending to panic when Pedro captured his king. You're a natural strategist, kid. Arthur said. "You should consider a career in business." Luna watched the scene with a strange feeling in her chest. Seeing Arthur, usually so serious and controlled, laughing with her brother was unsettling. The storm finally calmed around midnight. Arthur checked his phone, which was still buzzing with notifications. "Trouble?" Luna asked. "Nothing that can't wait until morning," he said, putting the phone away. "But it's late. I should go." At the door, Arthur turned to Luna. "Thanks for dinner. It was different." Luna smiled. "Different good or different bad?" "Definitely good," he replied, holding her gaze for a moment that felt longer than it was. When Arthur finally left, Luna closed the door and leaned against it, feeling her heart race. "You like him?" Pedro shouted, suddenly appearing in the hallway. "What?" "Don't be ridiculous," Luna said, but her blushing cheeks gave her away. Luna and Arthur, sitting in a tree, kissing. Pedro began to sing before Luna threw a pillow at him. The next morning, Luna woke up to her phone buzzing. A message from Arthur, "Turn on the TV." Now, confused, she turned on the small TV in the living room. Pedro was already there, watching with his mouth open. On screen, a news anchor reported the latest business scandal. Last night, Liang Corp's CEO, Arthur Liang, was seen in a low-income neighborhood, having dinner at the home of the controversial Luna Oliveira. Sources close to the board say shareholders are furious about the executive's personal involvement. In a statement, Victor Menezes said he's deeply concerned about Liang's erratic behavior. The broadcast cut to an interview with Sofia Menezes. It's obvious she's using the same manipulative tactics as her father. First, he poisoned customers. Now she's poisoned the mind of one of the most powerful businessmen in the country. Luna felt her blood run cold. In other news, the cooking show Star of Gastronomy has announced Luna Oliveira as a special guest on its next episode, sparking controversy among viewers. The phone rang. It was Arthur. "Did you see it?" "I did," Luna answered, her voice shaking. "This could ruin your reputation." "I don't care about that," Arthur said firmly. "But we need to be careful. The TV show, it's a trap." "How do you know?" "Victor Menezes is the show's main sponsor. He's trying to humiliate you in public." Luna closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "So that's what he wants? Fine. I'll go on the show. And I'll prove that the Oliveiras are not what they say we are." On the other end of the line, Arthur smiled. "That's exactly what I hoped you'd say." The global TV studios gleamed under the bright lights. Assistants ran back and forth, makeup artists made final touch-ups on the contestants, and the audience waited eagerly in the stands. Star of Gastronomy was the most watched cooking reality show in the country, known for its brutal challenges and harsh judges. Luna waited backstage, trying to steady her trembling hands. Arthur had tried to talk her out of coming, but she insisted. "It's the only way to clear our name," she had said. 5 minutes, a producer shouted. Beside her, the other contestants eyed her with suspicion. All of them were well-known chefs or past finalists. Luna, wearing a simple apron, looked completely out of place. "Nervous, criminal's daughter?" whispered a blonde contestant with a smug smile. "I heard poisoning people runs in the family." Luna kept her head high, ignoring the provocation. She focused on the words her father always repeated. "In the kitchen, it doesn't matter who you are, only what you create." The lights dimmed, the theme music played loudly, and the host, Cesar Montero, slid onto the stage with his signature wide smile. "Good evening, Brazil. Tonight we have a special edition of Star of Gastronomy, featuring the most controversial contestant in the show's history." The audience clapped wildly. Luna took a deep breath. "And here are our judges," Cesar announced. "Chef Philippe Dubois, Renata Mendonça, and our special guest, Victor Menezes." Luna felt her blood run cold. Victor, the man who destroyed her father, was smiling cynically at the judges' table. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a setup. The cameras focused on the contestants as they walked in. When Luna appeared, a wave of boos erupted from the audience, mixed with a few scattered claps. Banners reading "Poison Family Out" were held up. "Luna Oliveira," Cesar said dramatically. "Daughter of the infamous chef Carlos Oliveira, who nearly poisoned 15 people. How does it feel to be here?" Luna swallowed hard. "I came here to cook, not to talk about the past." "Oh, but the past always finds a way to haunt us, doesn't it?" Cesar pushed, winking at the cameras. Victor Menezes leaned toward the microphone. "I'm surprised by your courage, Miss Oliveira. especially considering your family history." Whispers ran through the audience. Luna kept her eyes on her workstation, refusing to take the bait. "Today's challenge," Cesar announced, "is to create a signature dish in 60 minutes. The winner earns immunity, and the worst dish leads straight to elimination." The workstations were revealed. To Luna's dismay, hers was poorly equipped. Dull knives, scratched pans, and a stove that looked older than the others. "Let the flames begin," Cesar shouted, and a digital timer started counting down. Luna quickly checked her ingredients. She had planned to make wild mushroom risotto with red wine reduction, a recipe her father loved. But when she opened the pack of arborio rice, she found regular rice, completely wrong for risotto. First trap, she thought. Improvising, she decided to make a creamy rice dish using a different method. The clock showed 45 minutes remaining. As she worked, she noticed the cameras were constantly following her, zooming in on her every move. The judges approached her station, watching with critical expressions. "Your technique is interesting," Philippe commented with a patronizing tone. "Did you learn that from your father?" "Yes," Luna answered shortly. "He was a great chef, no matter what people say." Victor Menezes gave a mocking laugh. "A great chef? He couldn't even tell the difference between spices and poison, it seems." The cameras captured every word. Luna's face burned, but she stayed focused. When she tried to use the food processor to chop the mushrooms, it made a strange noise and then stopped working. Second trap, she thought, grabbing a knife to chop them by hand. Time was flying. With 30 minutes left, Luna realized her stove wasn't heating properly. The water barely boiled. "Having technical issues, Oliveira?" a blonde contestant at the next station teased. Luna ignored her and adjusted her plan. She'd use the oven, which seemed to work better. As she adapted her recipe, she heard whispers from the audience and giggles from the other contestants. With only 15 minutes left, disaster struck. When she opened the oven to check her dish, thick smoke poured out. Someone had turned the temperature to the highest setting. Her rice was completely burned. The audience burst into laughter. "Looks like we've got a little kitchen fire over here," Cesar narrated, stepping closer to capture the moment. Luna felt her eyes burn with unshed tears. Everything had been carefully planned to humiliate her on national television. She looked at the clock. 12 minutes. No time to start over. Then she remembered her father's words. A real chef doesn't see ingredients, they see possibilities. With renewed determination, Luna looked at what she had left. Some vegetables, spices, and a few ingredients she'd prepared for a side dish. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Working quickly, blocking out the teasing and harsh comments, Luna remembered a technique her father had taught her for desperate moments. When all seems lost, go back to the basics and find the purest flavor. 5 minutes. Cesar called out. Victor Menezes watched with a satisfied smile. His revenge on the Oliveiras was complete. The daughter would be publicly humiliated, just like he had destroyed the father. Luna was finishing up an improvised dish. A vegetable tartare with fresh herbs and spices, presented with a minimalist technique her father only used on special occasions. "Time's up! Knives down!" Cesar announced. The audience applauded. The camera zoomed in on the elaborate dishes of the other contestants and finally on Luna's simple creation. "Time for judging," Cesar announced with exaggerated enthusiasm. The other participants were praised for their technical creations. When it was Luna's turn, the studio went quiet. Victor Menezes tasted first with a doubtful expression. "It's edible," he said coldly, "but completely unfit for this competition." Philippe tasted next. Browning. Basic technique, no creativity, disappointing. Luna kept her gaze steady, taking in the unfair criticism. Renata, the last judge, tasted slowly. "There's something familiar about this dish," she said thoughtfully. "It reminds me of a failure." Victor interrupted. "Like father, like daughter." The crowd reacted to the cruelty. Cesar smiled, ratings skyrocketing. At that moment, the studio doors burst open. Arthur Lang walked in, followed by his team of lawyers. "Sorry for the interruption," he said as he calmly approached the stage. "But I couldn't miss this performance." A wave of murmurs swept the studio. The cameras turned to the newcomer. "Mr. Liang, what a surprise," Cesar stammered. "You came to watch?" "I came to clarify something," Arthur replied, walking up to the judge's table. If Luna Oliveira loses this competition, Lian Corp will immediately cancel its $50 million sponsorship of this show. Silence fell across the studio. This is blackmail, Victor protested. This is business, Arthur corrected calmly. Now, I suggest you taste her dish again, with an open mind this time. The judges looked at each other, stunned. Renata was the first to respond, tasting Luna's dish again. The herbs, she murmured, closing her eyes. This combination is Carlos Oliveira's signature. I recognize it now. Philippe reluctantly tasted again. There's balance here. The simplicity hides a complexity of flavors. Victor refused to taste it again, but he was outvoted. When the votes were counted, Luna had won the challenge 2-1. The audience, confused, clapped hesitantly. Luna, tears in her eyes, couldn't believe it. At the end of the show, as she was leaving the studio, she found Arthur waiting. Thank you, she murmured, but you didn't have to. I did, he interrupted. What happened here was disgraceful. I won because of your threat, not because of my talent. Arthur held her gaze. You won because you're outstanding, even in the face of an obvious setup. That just shows how much they fear you. A tear rolled down Luna's cheek. Would my father be proud? Arthur smiled gently. I'm sure he already is. The morning was gray when Arthur arrived at his office. The heavy clouds matched his mood as he flipped through the documents on his desk. Forensic reports, expert findings, testimonies, all related to the Carlos Oliveira case. The phone rang for the third time, but Arthur ignored it. Since his appearance on the TV show, shareholders had been calling non-stop, demanding explanations. The press was speculating about his relationship with Luna, inventing increasingly outrageous stories. Zhao entered quietly, carrying a red folder. Sir, we found something. Arthur looked up, instantly alert. About the Oliveira case? Yes, the lab that did the toxicology tests shut down 2 years ago, but we managed to access their files. Zhao placed the folder on the desk. The original samples from the supposedly poisoned clients are gone. Completely. No records. Convenient, Arthur muttered, flipping through the documents. There's more. The lead investigator in the case, Detective Ribeiro, requested a transfer a week after Carlos Oliveira's death. He bought a house in Portugal and never came back. Arthur stood up abruptly. Bribery. Looks like it. And there's one more thing. Zhao hesitated. The judge who presided over the case? He's Victor Menezes' second cousin. Arthur slammed his fist on the table. Find that detective. I want him here as soon as possible. Sir, that's going to cost? I don't care what it costs. Make it happen. Zhao nodded and left. Arthur turned his attention to a photo in the file. Carlos Oliveira in handcuffs being taken to prison. His eyes showed the same determination Arthur now saw in Luna. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Leon, the board is meeting in the conference room. They're demanding your presence immediately. Arthur took a deep breath, adjusted his tie, and picked up the documents. It was time to face the consequences. Luna walked quickly through the downtown streets, keeping her hood up. Since the TV show, she was recognized constantly, sometimes applauded, but often met with hostility. Poisoner's daughter, some would shout. Others asked for selfies, fascinated by the controversy. Her phone vibrated. A message from Arthur. Meeting with the board now. I'll update you later. Stay alert. Luna smiled without meaning to. Over the past few weeks, Arthur had become a steady presence in her life. It was still hard to define him. Boss, friend, something more, but the connection between them was undeniable. She stepped into a quiet cafe, ordered a coffee, and opened her laptop. As part of the investigation, Arthur had given her access to Lian Corp's files. She was determined to find any link between Victor Menezes and her father. It's you, isn't it? The girl from the cooking show? Luna looked up. An older woman was watching her from the next table. I knew your father, the woman continued, her eyes kind. He was a regular at Les Jardins. I never believed that poisoning story. Carlos wasn't capable of that. Luna felt a lump in her throat. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot. What they're doing to you is the same thing they did to him, the woman said softly, leaning in. Be careful with the Menezes family. They destroy anyone who threatens their business. Before Luna could respond, the woman picked up her purse and left quickly. Luna sat in silence, thinking. It wasn't the first time someone had said the Menezes had enemies. Back at her laptop, she opened the financial records for Les Jardins from before the incident. Under Carlos's leadership, the restaurant had tripled its revenue. Interestingly, just weeks before the poisoning, he had turned down a partnership offer from Victor, choosing instead to start his own place. The classic motive, Luna muttered to herself. Money. Her phone buzzed again. A news alert. Liang Corp board votes to suspend Arthur Liang following scandal with criminal's daughter. Luna's stomach dropped. Arthur was risking everything for her. In the Liang Corp boardroom, the mood was tense. 12 men and women in expensive suits stared at Arthur with expressions ranging from disapproval to thinly veiled anger. Robert Davis, the board chairman, struck the gavel. This emergency meeting is to address the recent behavior of our CEO, Arthur Liang, which has compromised the company's reputation and financial stability. Arthur remained composed. Since Arthur decided to get personally involved with Miss Oliveira, Robert continued, we've lost 3 international contracts and our stock has dropped 7%. The press is questioning his mental state and our shareholders are demanding answers. Murmurs of agreement filled the room. Therefore, Robert concluded, we propose the temporary suspension of Arthur Liang from the CEO position until this situation is resolved. Arthur finally stood, calm and steady. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I understand your concerns, but what we're dealing with goes far beyond market fluctuations. He opened the red folder and spread documents across the table. These are records from the original investigation into Carlos Oliveira. They're full of inconsistencies, missing evidence, and clear conflicts of interest. He looked directly at Robert, and we suspect Victor Menezes was behind it all. That's ridiculous, a female board member exclaimed. Victor is one of the most respected businessmen in the country, and one of our major investors, another added. These accusations are extremely serious, Arthur. They're backed by evidence, Arthur replied. The judge on the case was Menezes' cousin. The lead investigator vanished with a mysterious fortune. The toxicology samples were never properly verified. Robert adjusted his glasses, visibly unsettled. Even if that's true, what does it have to do with our company? Arthur leaned across the table. Everything. Because Victor Menezes has been trying to take control of Liang Corp for years. And now, using Luna as an excuse, he's found a way to push me out. A heavy silence fell over the room. I'm not just defending Luna Oliveira or her father's name. I'm protecting this company from a corporate predator. Robert exchanged glances with the other board members. We need concrete proof, Arthur. We can't rely on conspiracy theories. Arthur nodded. I'm asking for just 2 weeks. If I don't present solid evidence by then, I'll resign willingly. After a tense debate, the council agreed to postpone the vote for 2 weeks. Arthur left the conference room exhausted, but determined. In the hallway, Zhao was waiting for him. We located Detective Ribeiro. He's living under a false name in Lisbon. Good. Get the jet ready. We leave tomorrow. Sir, there's something else, Zhao said, hesitating. We've received word that Luna Oliveira might be in danger. Arthur felt a chill run through his body. What kind of danger? Online threats. People are furious about her being on the show. And, Zhao paused again, our sources say Victor Menezes hired someone to scare her. Arthur was already dialing Luna's number. No answer. Find her. Now. Luna walked out of the cafe feeling like someone was watching her. The sky was darkening with the incoming storm, and the streets were unusually empty. She picked up her pace, clutching a folder of documents. As she turned down a deserted street, she heard footsteps behind her. She sped up, her heart racing. The footsteps grew quicker too. She crossed the street, but a black car suddenly pulled in front of her, blocking the way. The door flew open. Poisoner's daughter. A hooded man shouted as he jumped out of the car. Luna stepped back, desperately looking for a way to escape. Another man appeared behind her. The Menezes family sends their regards, he said, moving in on her. Luna looked around, trapped between the two men. She grabbed the strap of her bag, ready to defend herself if she had to. The first man lunged. Luna dodged, but the second grabbed her from behind, pinning her arms. Help, she screamed, struggling. Suddenly, a third car screeched to a stop. Arthur jumped out like a storm, followed by 2 security guards. Let her go, now, he shouted, his voice sharp and commanding. The attackers, caught off guard, hesitated. That was all Luna needed. She elbowed the man behind her in the stomach and broke free. Arthur, she cried, running to him. Realizing they were outmatched, the men ran back to their car and sped away into the growing darkness. Luna was trembling in Arthur's arms. "Adrenaline still code 40, she asked, out of breath. "We tracked your phone," Arthur said, holding her tightly. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, feeling oddly safe despite what had just happened. "I'm okay. Just scared." Arthur cupped her face in his hands, studying her with concern. "This is just the beginning. They're desperate now." "Did you learn anything from the council meeting?" "I bought us some time, but I need solid evidence." Arthur paused, still holding her face. "I'm going to Lisbon tomorrow. The detective who arrested your father is there." Luna felt a flicker of hope. "I'm coming with you." "It's dangerous? More dangerous than staying here?" she replied, a faint smile forming on her lips. The sky finally opened up, releasing the rain that had been threatening all day. Arthur looked into her eyes, not caring that his clothes were soaked. Something shifted in that moment. A wall between them came down. Slowly, he leaned in and kissed her. It was a gentle kiss, almost like a question. Luna kissed him back, a warmth spreading through her despite the cold rain. When they pulled apart, they were both breathless. Not from the fear, but from what they had just discovered between them. "We have to go," Arthur whispered. "It's not safe here." But across the street, hidden in the shadows, someone was watching and taking pictures. 3 days with no word. 3 days since Arthur had flown to Lisbon in search of Detective Ribeiro. 3 days Luna spent shifting between hope and dread. The safe apartment Arthur had arranged for her and her family was luxurious, but it felt like a golden cage. The curtains stayed closed. Guards stood at the door. Her phone buzzed constantly with sensational headlines. Oliveira Harris in hiding after scandal. Romance between CEO and criminal's daughter. Business or pleasure. Victor Menezes sues Leon Corp for defamation. Luna turned off her phone in frustration. Helena sat by the window, worry written across her pale face. "Still no word from him?" she asked softly. Luna shook her head. "Zhao says they're staying quiet for safety. Apparently the detective is hard to find." Pedro ran into the room and turned on the 65-inch TV. "Luna, you need to see this." The news was showing the Leon Corp headquarters surrounded by reporters. The headline made Luna's heart stop. "Arthur Liang missing for 72 hours. The reporter, standing in front of the mirrored building, spoke with a serious expression. Inside sources confirm that Arthur Liang has not been seen since he boarded his private jet to Lisbon. The board of directors has called an emergency meeting for this afternoon. Robert Davis, chairman of the board, released a statement saying the CEO's absence is deeply concerning and that steps are being taken to ensure the company's stability during this turbulent time. The screen then showed Victor Menezes leaving an upscale restaurant, surrounded by microphones. "It's a tragedy," he said with fake concern. "To see a company like Leon Corp shaken by a scandal like this. I've always warned about the risks of getting involved with the Oliveira family." Luna felt her blood boil. "Liar," she exclaimed. "He knows exactly where Arthur is. I'm sure he's the one who—" The phone rang, cutting her off. Unknown number. Luna hesitated before answering. "Hello? Luna?" Arthur's voice sounded distant, with interference. "Don't talk, just listen." She held her breath. "I found Ribeiro. He confessed everything. He was paid to plant evidence against your father. I'm coming back today with proof, but—" His voice was cut off by static. "Arthur? Arthur." The call dropped. Luna tried to call back, but the number wouldn't go through. "What happened?" Helena asked, worried. "It was him. He found the proof. He's coming back." Pedro cheered, jumping on the couch. But Luna couldn't share his excitement. Something about Arthur's voice felt off, worried, almost scared. That night, Luna couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, checking her phone every few minutes. At 4:37 a.m., a notification popped up. Arthur Liang's jet lands at private airport. She finally fell asleep, exhausted. A few hours later, frantic knocking woke her up. "Luna! Luna!" It was Pedro, his voice choked with tears. "Come see the TV. Hurry!" She jumped out of bed and ran to the living room. Helena was already there, hands covering her mouth in shock. On the screen, live footage of an ambulance in front of Leon Corp. Paramedics were wheeling out a stretcher. The headline read, "Leon Corp CEO attacked at company headquarters." "No," Luna whispered, feeling the ground fall out from under her. The reporter spoke in a dramatic tone. Arthur Long was found unconscious in his office this morning by staff members. Witnesses say he was bleeding and showed signs of a violent attack. Police are investigating whether the assault is connected to the recent controversies surrounding the company. Hospital sources report his condition as serious but stable. Luna was already throwing on a coat over her pajamas. "I have to go to the hospital. Now." "Sweetheart, it's dangerous," Helena tried to stop her. "Whoever did this to him might come after you too." "I don't care," Luna said, grabbing her keys. "Stay here. The security team will protect you." In the elevator, her phone rang again. It was Zhao. "Don't go to the hospital," he said right away. "Reporters are everywhere, and it's not safe." "How is he?" "Stable. 2 broken ribs, a concussion, deep cut on his arm, but—" Zhao paused. "He left something for you before the attack. I'm sending a driver. Meet me at the company warehouse in 30 minutes. Luna bit her lip, torn between seeing Arthur and finding out what he had uncovered. "I'll be there." The Leon Corp warehouse was in a remote industrial area. A plain gray building surrounded by others just as dull. Luna found Zhao waiting by a side door. "Quick," he said, checking to make sure no one was watching. Inside, between dusty boxes and old equipment, Zhao led her to a small office. On the table were a black folder and a flash drive. "Arthur left instructions to give you this if anything ever happened to him." Luna took the folder with trembling hands. Inside was a signed confession from Eduardo Ribeiro, the detective who had investigated her father. The document detailed how Victor Menezes paid $2 million for Ribeiro to falsify evidence, plant poison in the samples, and speed up the trial. "Oh my God," Luna whispered, tears streaming down her face. "This clears my father's name." "There's more," Zhao said, plugging the flash drive into a laptop. "Recordings of the conversations with Ribeiro in Lisbon. And," he hesitated, "Arthur suspected we were being watched. That's why he set this up in secret." Luna watched the footage with a heavy heart. Ribeiro, a middle-aged man with nervous eyes, confessed everything in detail. How Victor had planned every step. How Carlos Oliveira was deliberately taken down for threatening the Menezes culinary empire. "Why did he attack Arthur now?" Luna asked, wiping her tears. "Desperation. Victor found out Arthur had the evidence. He tried to stop it from going public." Zhao looked away. This time he hired professionals. If the security guard hadn't shown up, Arthur would have been... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. "We have to go to the police," Luna said firmly. "We already sent copies to the authorities and the press." "Arthur planned everything," Zhao said with a slight smile. "He knew it was a dangerous mission. That's why he built a safety net." Luna's phone buzzed with a flood of notifications. The story was going viral. Businessman Victor Menezes, accused of conspiracy. Carlos Oliveira was innocent, the truth finally revealed. "I need to see Arthur," Luna said. Zhao nodded. "The driver's waiting. He'll take you through the back entrance of the hospital to avoid the press." In the car, Luna held the folder against her chest like a talisman. 3 years of pain, shame, and injustice were finally coming to an end. Her father had been vindicated. But at what cost? At the hospital, a doctor led her down quiet hallways to a private wing. Security guards stood at the door of the room. Inside, Arthur lay in bed, hooked up to monitors, his arm bandaged and bruises on his face. He looked smaller, more fragile, so different from the strong man she had known. Let's play a little game with anyone who only reads the comments. Type Coca-Cola below. Only those who read this far will get it. Now let's continue the story. Luna stepped closer, gently taking the hand that wasn't attached to the IV. "You did it," she whispered. "You cleared my father's name." To her surprise, Arthur's eyes slowly opened. A faint smile appeared on his bruised lips. "Luna, don't try to talk," she said, softly touching his face. "You need to rest." "The final," he whispered with effort. "The national cooking competition." Luna frowned, confused. "What about it?" "I signed you up," Arthur managed. "Victor is the main sponsor. You have to go. Show everyone who you really are." He closed his eyes, exhausted. Luna stood frozen. The national culinary competition was the most prestigious event in the country. Winning would fully restore the honor of the Oliveira name. Her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "Congratulations on the vindication, Miss Oliveira. But this isn't over. I'll see you at the competition final. I want to see if you can cook as well as your father, before I destroy you like I did him." "Victor." Luna looked at Arthur, who had fallen asleep again. She kissed his forehead gently. "I'll go," she whispered, "and I'll win. For you, for my father, for all of us." As she left through the back entrance of the hospital, she was caught by camera flashes. A few reporters had found out she was there. But instead of running, she stopped. "Miss Oliveira, what do you say about the accusations against Victor Menezes? How did it feel to learn your father was innocent? Will you compete in the final?" Luna took a deep breath and lifted her chin with determination. "My father, Carlos Oliveira, was the victim of a criminal conspiracy. Today, his name was finally cleared." Her voice grew stronger. "And yes, I'll compete in the national culinary competition. You can tell Victor Menezes I'll be there, ready to show the world my father's legacy." Reporters shouted more questions, but Luna was already getting into the car. The final battle was just beginning. The days leading up to the national culinary competition passed in a whirlwind. Carlos Oliveira's story was all over the news. Innocent chef, the Menezes conspiracy, justice at last. The headlines changed by the hour. The public prosecutor's office officially reopened the case, and Victor Menezes was summoned to testify. Sofia mysteriously vanished during a sudden trip to Europe. The Menezes empire was starting to collapse under the weight of the revelations. Luna split her time between intense training for the competition and visits to the hospital. Arthur was recovering slowly, still too weak to return to work, but strong enough to coach her. "You need to master the reduction technique," he advised, watching her practice in the safe house, where they had set up a makeshift competition kitchen. "Your father was brilliant at it." Luna smiled, focused on the sauce she was preparing. "How do you know so much about cooking techniques?" Arthur shifted on the couch, where he sat observing her training. 3 years as a kitchen assistant in Taiwan, remember? I trained under a Michelin-starred chef." Pedro came running into the room, waving a tablet. "Luna, look at this!" On the screen, the news showed Victor Menezes leaving the police station, surrounded by reporters. His once confident face now showed dark circles under his eyes and a cornered expression. Victor Menezes was indicted today for obstruction of justice, bribery of officials, and attempted murder. The businessman denied all charges and was released after posting bail. "Are they going to arrest him?" Pedro asked hopefully. "Eventually," Arthur replied, "but first, he'll face public disgrace. For someone like Victor, that's worse than jail." Luna turned off the stove, deep in thought. "And still, he'll be at the competition. As the main sponsor, he can't be removed." "That's exactly why you have to win," Arthur said, holding her hand. "It'll be the final blow." The day before the contest, Luna got an unexpected visit. Miguel, the young man who had helped her in the challenge against the French chef, showed up at her apartment. "I came to offer my help," he said shyly. "I know I'm not a professional chef, but—" Luna hugged him, moved. "You're exactly who I need as an assistant." That night, while organizing her knives and tools, Luna found something tucked at the bottom of her equipment box. Her father's old recipe notebook. She flipped through it gently, her fingers brushing over the handwritten notes. On the last page, she noticed something she had never seen before. "For my Luna, who will one day shine brighter than all the stars in the culinary world. The secret isn't in the ingredients, but in the love we put into every dish. Dad." Silent tears streamed down her face. It felt like a blessing from him, straight from above. "I'll make you proud, Dad," she whispered, kissing the worn page. The convention center was buzzing with activity on the morning of the final round. 8 finalists, all well-established chefs with their own restaurants or international training. And Luna, the outsider, the daughter of a rehabilitated chef, as some commentators had called her. Cameras were everywhere. The event would be broadcast live across the country. Luna and Miguel were setting up their station when Arthur arrived, leaning on a cane but dressed sharply in a gray suit. "You're supposed to be resting?" Luna said, concerned. "And miss your big moment? Not a chance." Their eyes met, and in that gaze was more than words could express. It held promises, hope, a possible future once the storm had passed. The host called the contestants to the center stage. The theme was announced, reinvention, a classic dish with your personal touch. Luna felt a chill. It was as if her father had sent that theme from above. "Contestants, to your stations. You have 3 hours. Let the best chef win." The audience clapped. Cameras moved across the room. From the VIP mezzanine, Victor Menezes watched with cold eyes, sipping champagne as if nothing could touch him. Luna took a deep breath and got to work. She had chosen to reinvent her father's signature dish, Sea and Earth, a creation that combined perfectly seared scallops, a wine reduction sauce with secret spices, and earthy elements for contrast and harmony. The judges walked around the stations, asking questions, observing techniques. When they reached Luna's station, they stayed longer than usual. "Your father was known for this dish," said one of the judges, the renowned chef Patricia Noronha. "Are you trying to recreate his legacy?" "I'm honoring his memory, but creating my own version," Luna answered without pausing her chopping. "My father taught me that cooking is about respecting tradition and finding your own voice." Patricia nodded, clearly impressed, a wise philosophy. Up in the mezzanine, Victor grew visibly agitated with all the positive attention Luna was receiving. He called over one of the organizers, gesturing angrily. Helena and Pedro watched from the front row, sitting next to Arthur. Pedro couldn't sit still, shifting between bouncing with excitement and biting his nails. "She's gonna make it, right?" he asked Arthur for the 10th time. "She will," Arthur said confidently. "Your sister is the most determined person I've ever met." In the final hour of the competition, a production assistant walked up to Luna and whispered something in her ear. She visibly paled but kept working. "What was that?" Miguel asked, worried. "Victor requested a last-minute change," Luna murmured, adjusting the oven temperature. "The judges will now ask questions about advanced molecular gastronomy techniques, something that wasn't in the rules." "He can't do that." "Apparently he can. He's the main sponsor." Miguel looked like he wanted to argue, but Luna calmed him with a gesture. "It's okay. My father was fascinated by culinary science. I studied his notes." When the gong sounded to mark the end of the round, 8 dishes were ready for judging. Luna looked at her creation with a mix of pride and nervousness. It wasn't exactly how her father would have done it. It was her own version, with elements that reflected her journey. The judges tasted each dish carefully, taking notes and whispering among themselves. Victor watched with a confident smile, sure that his last-minute trap had worked. Finally, after a tense deliberation, the judges returned. The host held a golden envelope with the results. "Before we announce the winner," he began, "we have a special announcement to make. In a posthumous tribute, the National Culinary Council has decided to restore all honors and awards previously given to Carlos Oliveira, recognizing the injustice done to this great chef." The audience erupted in applause. Helena covered her face, moved to tears. Luna felt her legs go weak. And now, the winner of this year's National Culinary Contest is... The room fell completely silent. Arthur held his breath. Victor leaned over the balcony railing. Luna Oliveira, with her extraordinary reinvention of sea and earth. The audience rose in a thunderous ovation. Miguel hugged Luna, who was frozen in shock. Helena cried openly. Pedro jumped up, shouting at the top of his lungs. Arthur watched with tears in his eyes and a smile of pure pride. Victor threw his champagne glass to the floor and stormed off, pushing past security and photographers. As Luna walked up to the stage to receive the golden trophy, only one thought filled her mind. "We did it, Dad. We did it." Justice, at last, had been served on a perfectly executed plate. 6 months after winning the National Culinary Contest, Luna's life had completely changed. The small apartment where she lived with her mother and brother had been replaced by a spacious home in a quiet neighborhood. Helena was receiving top medical care, and her health was slowly improving. Pedro was now attending a private school where his talent for math was finally being recognized. But the biggest change was in Luna herself. The shy, guarded delivery girl had become a confident and respected chef. With Arthur's financial support, she opened her own restaurant, Oliveira, which earned its first star in the food guide in just 4 months. On that sunny Saturday morning, Luna was overseeing the final details for the most important event of her life. But it wasn't just any dinner. "The flowers need to be taller in the center," she instructed, watching the staff work to transform the restaurant's main hall. "And don't light the scented candles until 30 minutes before the guests arrive." Miguel, now her official sous chef, came over with a clipboard. "The appetizers are ready for inspection, and the drinks team has arranged the wines according to your list." He hesitated, smiling. Don't you think you might be overdoing it? After all, it's just a— Don't say just, Luna interrupted, smiling nervously. It's the most important day of my life. More important than winning the national contest? Miguel teased. By far. Luna's phone buzzed. It was Arthur. Is everything okay? Do you need anything? I'm getting nervous. She smiled at the screen. The powerful CEO of Leon Corp, who faced board meetings and billion-dollar deals without blinking, was nervous about a dinner. Everything's perfect. Just make sure you're on time. Love you. Those last two words still felt surreal as she typed them. For so long, love had been a luxury she couldn't afford, too focused on surviving and caring for her family. Now, it overflowed in her life. Luna, Pedro yelled, running into the room with a tablet in hand. Look at this. A news article had just been published. Victor Menezes sentenced to 15 years in prison. The photo showed the once powerful businessman, now worn down, being led away by police. Luna felt a deep sense of peace as she read the headline. It wasn't joy or revenge, it was closure for a painful chapter. Finally, she whispered. Justice had come too late for her father, but it had come. Carlos Oliveira had been fully vindicated, with posthumous honors and documentaries about his life in production. The poisoning that had ruined him was now proven to be a carefully planned conspiracy by Victor, driven by fear of the competition Carlos's talent posed. I think Dad's happy today, Pedro said, looking at the portrait of Carlos that hung in a place of honor in the restaurant. Luna hugged her brother. I'm sure he is. That evening, the Oliveira restaurant looked completely transformed. Soft lighting, white and gold flowers everywhere, and live music playing gently in the background. Guests began to arrive, friends, family, food journalists, and even a few judges from the competition. Helena was brought in her wheelchair, but to everyone's surprise, she stood up and slowly walked to her seat with the help of a cane. Her eyes sparkled with pride and joy. You look beautiful, Mom, Luna said, adjusting the silk shawl on Helena's shoulders. Your father would be so proud, Helena replied, holding her daughter's face in her hands. Of everything you've achieved, of the person you've become. The buzz of conversation died down when Arthur walked in. As elegant as ever in a perfect suit, but there was something different in his eyes, a vulnerability, a quiet emotion few had ever seen. He walked straight to Luna, ignoring greetings and camera flashes. You look stunning, he whispered, kissing her softly. Luna smiled as she fixed his tie. Not bad for a CEO. Arthur laughed, more at ease than he had ever been in public. In recent months, their relationship had flourished under media attention. From corporate scandal to love story of the year, the headlines had shifted after Victor's conviction and the success of Luna's restaurant. Dinner went perfectly. 5 courses personally prepared by Luna, each one telling part of her story. From the simple flavors she used to cook for her sick mother, to the refined techniques she had learned studying her father's notebooks. When dessert was served, a modern version of Carlos's favorite sweet, Arthur stood up and asked for silence. The room went quiet, anticipating something special. 1 year ago, he began, his voice steady but full of emotion. I was a man focused only on numbers, contracts, and business achievements. My life was predictable, organized, and completely empty. Soft murmurs of agreement swept through the room. Pedro was recording everything with his new phone. Then, by pure chance, a delivery woman burst into my crisis meeting and solved a problem in seconds. Arthur smiled at Luna. And in that moment, though I didn't know it, my life changed forever. He walked over to Luna and held her hands. You taught me about courage, Luna, about integrity, about standing up for what's right, no matter how impossible it seems. You showed me there are things more important than power and money. Arthur knelt down, drawing gasps from the guests. He pulled a small black velvet box from his pocket. Luna Oliveira, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Time seemed to stop. Luna's eyes filled with tears, but she could still see the ring, a sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. Elegant, not flashy, just the way she liked it. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times yes. The room erupted in applause. Helena was crying openly. Pedro was cheering and jumping. Miguel popped open a bottle of champagne and began pouring glasses for a toast. As Arthur slid the ring onto her finger, Luna felt a comforting presence, as if her father was right there, blessing the moment. 6 months later, A soft breeze swayed the garden flowers at the seaside colonial mansion Arthur had chosen for the ceremony. The path to the altar was covered with white and gold petals, lined with floral arrangements that looked like they had grown naturally from the ground. Backstage, Luna was spinning nervously in front of the mirror. Her wedding dress, designed by the country's most respected designer, was a dream in ivory. Delicate lace on the sheer sleeves, a hand-embroidered bodice with tiny pearls, and a graceful train trailing behind her. "Hold still, sweetheart." Helena was trying to adjust her veil, now using only a simple cane. The advanced treatment Arthur had financed was slowly restoring her mobility. "I'm so nervous, Mom," Luna said, taking a deep breath. "More than I was before the competition final." Helena smiled, her eyes full of emotion. "That's normal. Your father was the same way at our wedding. He dropped the bouquet twice before the ceremony." The mention of Carlos brought a tender smile to Luna's face. In a small locket, tied to her bouquet, she carried a photo of him. A way to have him there on her big day. Pedro burst into the room, looking sharp in his little page boy suit. "Luna, there's a surprise for you outside." "Not now, Pedro. I'm almost—" The door opened again, revealing an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. Luna froze, confused. "Kun." "Antonio Souza," the man said, his voice emotional. "I was your father's sous chef for 8 years. Luna covered her mouth in surprise. "He talked about you all the time, said you were like a brother." "I came from Portugal as soon as I heard about the wedding," Antonio said softly as he stepped closer. "Your father once told me that if anything ever happened to him, I should be here for you." Luna couldn't hold back her tears. "He asked you to walk me down the aisle?" Antonio nodded, wiping his own eyes. "If you'll allow me the honor." Outside, 300 guests waited under a perfectly blue sky. Journalists, celebrities, famous chefs, and politicians. It had become the social event of the year. The wedding of powerful CEO Arthur Leon and rising star chef Luna Oliveira. At the altar, surrounded by floral arches, Arthur stood waiting. He looked both strong and vulnerable in his flawless tuxedo. Beside him was Zhao, his loyal assistant and best man, smiling in a way few had ever seen. The music changed, signaling the bride's entrance. Everyone rose to their feet. Luna appeared at the start of the aisle, glowing beside Antonio. A quiet murmur of admiration passed through the crowd. Arthur, usually so composed, couldn't hide his emotions. His eyes filled with tears the moment he saw her walking down the path of rose petals. Every step toward the altar felt like a piece of their story. The unexpected meeting in the crisis room, the culinary challenge, the fight for justice, the kiss in the rain, the competition win, the proposal at the restaurant. When Antonio placed Luna's hand in Arthur's, he leaned in and whispered. Carlos would be bursting with pride. The ceremony felt like a dream. Their vows, written by hand, moved even the most reserved guests. "Luna," Arthur began, his normally steady voice trembling a bit, "before you, I thought success was measured in deals, contracts, and profits. But you showed me that true wealth is found in the moments money can't buy. Your courage inspired me, your integrity challenged me, and your love changed me. I promise to spend every day of my life trying to be worthy of the miracle of having you by my side. I promise to honor your father's memory and build a life with you filled with love and justice." Luna took a deep breath, holding back her tears. "Arthur, you came into my life when everything had fallen apart. When no one believed in me, you saw past the surface. You risked everything to do what was right." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "I promise to bring into our life the same passion I put into every dish I create. I promise to be your safe harbor when the corporate world becomes too heavy, and I promise to never forget that it only took 1 second for our lives to change forever." They exchanged rings, said "I do," and sealed their vows with a kiss. The orchestra burst into a joyful melody as golden petals rained down on them. Pedro whistled loudly, making the guests laugh. Helena cried openly, leaning on her cane. The reception was held in the garden of the estate, transformed into an open-air ballroom. Elegant tables, twinkling lights hanging from ancient trees, and the delicious scent of the 7-course dinner Luna had designed to tell their love story. During the meal, a surprise visitor. Sofia Menezes. She had returned to the country after her husband's conviction and quietly approached the couple's table. "I came to ask for forgiveness," she said in a low voice. I ignored Victor's actions for too long until it was too late. Luna paused just a moment, then stood and embraced her, shocking the other guests. Today is a day for new beginnings, for all of us. The most anticipated moment came when the couple stepped onto the dance floor for their first waltz. Arthur moved with natural grace, as if he and Luna had danced together all their lives. "Wife," he whispered in her ear, savoring the word. "Husband," she replied, smiling into his shoulder. As the music softened, Pedro climbed onto the stage and grabbed the band's microphone. "Hey everyone, I've got a super important announcement," the teenager shouted playfully. "Luna and Arthur are opening a new restaurant together." The guests applauded, curious. "And it's going to be called 1 Second, Pedro said proudly, "in honor of how long it took my sister to fix a security issue and win over the richest guy in town." Laughter filled the garden. Arthur shook his head, amused, while Luna hid her face in his chest, both embarrassed and laughing. Later, under a sky full of stars, the couple stole a quiet moment in the garden. Arthur wrapped his arms around Luna from behind, both gazing out at the ocean beyond the property. "Are you happy?" he asked, kissing her neck. "More than I ever thought possible," she said, turning in his arms. "You know what I love most about you?" Arthur whispered, gently touching her face. "How you turned something simple into something extraordinary. A routine delivery became a meeting that changed everything. Basic ingredients became works of culinary art." Luna smiled, took his hand, and softly placed it on her belly. "Speaking of transformations, one is on the way." Arthur's eyes widened as he understood instantly. "A baby?" he whispered, his voice full of emotion. Luna nodded, tears of joy shining in her eyes. "Our very own little miracle." Arthur held her gently, as if she were the most precious treasure in the world, then kissed her under the starlit sky. As their lips parted, both of them instinctively looked upward. One star glowed a little brighter for a moment. "Your father is watching," Arthur whispered. "I'm sure of it." "Love has come, Dad," Luna whispered toward the sky, "and it's here to stay." Back at the party, guests danced, laughed, and celebrated a love that had overcome all odds. The powerful CEO and the delivery girl, the businessman and the chef, two souls who met at exactly the moment they needed each other most. What did you think of Luna and Arthur's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our stories. And take a moment to check out more touching stories by clicking here on the final screen.